Hello, I'm teacher Elsabe, and I'm just going to run you through direct and indirect speech. So, this is something you're going to be asked almost every single exam, and they'll usually give you one sentence and they're going to say, put this in indirect speech. The other word that they'll use is reported speech. So, you have to know those two words are interchangeable. The direct speech, if you can see on the slides, yeah, direct speech is the quoted thing. So it's how someone said it originally. It's between quotation marks, those little goodies. And so it's directly, you could say, from the horse's mouth. That's an idiom that we use to say it's directly how the person originally said it. Then you've got to imagine that the person said it and you are removed from them. You might be a reporter, you might be a lawyer who's reporting on something that was said at an accident crime. You could be a newspaper reporter. You could be an academic. So you're someone who's removed from the action. You're in a totally different frame of mind. You're not in the action. So you're not going to use things like exclamation marks. You're also not obviously going to use those little quote marks. You are removed, you're seeing it kind of objectively from a distance. Imagine it like that. You're also seeing it later, like you are going to say what that person said at a later point in time. So think of it that way. There's the drama, there's what's being said over there. You back here, you are removed from it. You're objective, you are out of the drama, you're out of the situation, and you are going to report in an objective kind of way. So, what do you do? The most difficult part, as you'll see on the slide here, is how to change the tenses. Because as you know, with direct and indirect speech, you've got to go one step back in time. So, what exactly do we mean by that? That's what we're going to look at in this short video. There are a lot of other things you have to change, but the most tricky part is the tense change that you've got to do when you go from direct to indirect speech. As I said, indirect speech is also called reported speech. So here we have this table that you've got to literally memorize if you can. Put it in your head, look at it many times, put it in your head so that it's there and you can access it in a test situation or in an exam situation. So I've got example sentences here on this table already. This is just the sentences here are put in according to the tense and how the tense would be, just as per normal. So I've got a sentence for every single block. The tenses, as you know, are past, present, and future. And the aspects are simple, continuous, perfect, and perfect continuous. And when you combine a tense with an aspect, you get something like present simple, or you get present continuous, and so on. So let's say you have this block at the top in the middle. So you've got Susie washes the car. Let's say that that is now a reported speech. Okay, so it's reported speech. You're going to now say that someone said that. So I'm putting in the little quote marks there. Okay, Susie washes the car, and you're trying to say that it's reported speech. So you'd say, says Tom. Okay, very important. If the verb is says, okay, if the reporting verb is says, then you don't need to change the tense. So then you just stay with the same tense. It's when the verb here is said that you have to change the tense. Okay. So let's say Susie washes the car, said Tom. Okay. Remember, if it's now an actual quoted thing that someone said, you must definitely not have the full stop there. You have a comma. And you close the quotes, and Susie washes the car, said Tom. Now you are asked to put that in indirect or reported speech. So you can start with Tom said, okay, because you are saying, oh, that person said something. So you're reporting on what they have already said. So Tom said that you keep your subject, okay? But now can you see the arrows? The arrow going from that block leads back in the past, one tense or one step back in the past into the past simple. So now you know your indirect sentence has to sound like a past simple sentence. So you've got to say, Tom said that Susie washed the car. Okay. So there you have it. You've got the right tense. You've taken out your little quote marks. You've got the word that, which is kind of optional. You can also say Tom said Susie washed the car. But for all intents and purposes, rather say Tom said that Susie washed the car. But you've got the tense right. Can you see you've gone one step back? Because you just followed the arrows and you decided, I'm going to go according to this arrow here. This arrow tells me that I must go into the block to the left. Right. There you've got your first sentence. Let me just clear that. Now, let's say, by the way, can you see how the arrows work? The start of the arrow, like here, it starts in this block here, present simple. It ends in this block here, past simple. So now that is how you do it. If a sentence starts in present simple, you know you've got to move to past simple. Look at this arrow. It starts past continuous. It starts present continuous. It ends with past continuous. Okay, so you know if your direct speech, what was quoted, if that is in present continuous, you have to make it sound like past continuous once it is a reported speech, indirect speech. Look how the arrows work. They all start in one block, they end in another block. This one starts here and ends here. Right. These ones are a little bit more tricky. Okay. As you can see here, this one, if your sentence is Susie washed the car, which is past simple, right up here, then if you are making it indirect, your arrow tells you you've got to go down here to past perfect. Okay. So you have to make that sentence into a tense which is past perfect. So we're going to do that in a minute. The arrow that starts at past continuous, this one that's the darker arrow, past continuous, can you see it has to go down to perfect continuous. Sorry, past perfect continuous, past perfect continuous. So past continuous becomes past perfect continuous. So these are just going to help you to get the tense right. Have a look here. Interestingly, I could have another column here. I could have another column going down here to the right of the future tense, but I've tried to fit it all on one smaller table. So just so that you know, Susie will wash the car. If you put it one tense back, then you've got to use the conditional simple. That's the technical word for it. You don't really need to know that. What you need to know is that the auxiliary verb will, it's actually a modal, will becomes the modal would. Would is seen as the past tense of the word will. Not always. In some cases, you can describe the word would differently, but the past tense of will is given as would. So if you had in the future tense shall, the past tense of shall would be should. Okay. So that's how you deal with the future tense. We'll get to that in a minute. I've put in the red text, you can see here, I've got instructions for how to do indirect, how to figure out the indirect speech for future tense. That is not often asked at school level. It's more often asked for home language. First additional language, they tend to stick to these blocks on the left. Okay. But we will get to the home language, guys, in a minute. So here you could see, let's say your sentence in direct speech is, you're going to put it in quotes. So your original sentence in direct speech is like this. It's Susie washed the car. So you're going to put it in quote marks. And you're going to say, said Tom, or something like that. Let me just make that sentence. Susie washed the car, comma, close quotes, said Tom. Okay. So now it starts out in its form as a direct sentence, direct speech. Of course, you take out the full stop. So Susie washed the car, said Tom. Now you've got to get the tense right. So you follow the arrow and you know for a fact that you've got to come down here and the sound of your sentence, the tense must be this one. So to create the indirect speech for that Susie washed the car, said Tom, you're going to say, I'll write it over here. Tom said that Susie, and then you know you've got to say had washed the car because your arrow took you to this Susie had washed the car grammatical structure. Okay. If your sentence was Susie was washing the car, said Tom, then you're going to say Tom said that Susie had been washing the car. So please think clearly about these arrows. For first additional language, they absolutely love to give you a sentence in the past simple, like the Susie washed the car, said Tom, and then you're going to have to put it in the past perfect when you go tense back. So Tom said that Susie had washed the car. Now, as I said to you earlier, when you do this kind of thing, you are reporting quite calmly, you're calm and collected, you're objective, you're not getting excited. So if there's an exclamation mark in the sentence, you don't want to report in that style of speech. You've got a different tone of voice. You're calm, you're objective, you're rational, you're logical, all those things. So if it is Susie said, I'm so excited, exclamation mark. Then you've got to know that the exclamation mark indicates that you must invent an introductory verb. You must say, Tom exclaimed that Susie was so excited. So exclaimed is the way to say that you are excited about something. There's an exclamation mark. Can you hear exclaimed? Exclamation mark. So you've got to know that those kind of words are important if you are talking about a sentence that was originally with a exclamation mark. Anyway, so let's just have a look here. When you look at the future, let's say your future direct speech was, Tom said Susie will wash the car. All you do is Tom said that Susie would wash the car. So the will changes to would. Let's take the second one. Let's say your direct sentence is this one here. Okay. Susie will be washing the car. Okay, we're going to make it in a nice quote here. We're quoting this. Tommy's saying it again. said Tom. Okay. So let's put this down a bit. Okay. And of course, there's a comma there, not the full stop. Okay. So Susie will be washing the car, said Tom. Now you're going to start with Tom said that. All you do, the wool becomes wood. Tom said that Susie would be washing the car. So it's quite simple when you deal with the future tense. Will becomes would, shall becomes should, that kind of thing. Okay, can becomes could. You change the modal verb into its past tense format. That's all. Quite simple. So you don't need to stress about it. What you do need to do, you need to go and study this table. You need to know where do the arrows go and how to deal with it when you're doing this in a test. Think about where the sentence would start out and you make it indirect, you go to the right tense. If they give you an indirect sentence and they ask you to make it direct, then you just follow the arrows in reverse. Thanks for joining me. I hope this helps and good luck with your exams. Bye for now.